Ray Danilo, in the book Principles, an exceptional leader of an exceptional company, once wrote that you do not need anybody beyond process engineers in an organization. And by what he meant by that was, if someone really understands and manages the processes, then everything else is absolutely easy. Today, I have Francis Carden coming to talk about process orchestration, data mining, and task mining. Let's see what he thinks of Ray's insight. Welcome, Francis.
Hey, hi, Kieran. Good to see you. Listen, I think listen, it would be ideal if processes were so simple that you could just say that, right? I mean, but the reality is today, a process which has been built to be different, say, if you're coming in and phoning into a contact center, or if you are connecting via a web channel, or if you are connecting, via a mobile application, or even if you're connecting via Alexa, and then of course, those processes might now be impacted or impacting 20, 30, 50, or 100 different systems, applications, databases, and integration points. How do you track those processes? You don't have to have 1,000 people just to manage that. Surely it's better to look at it the other way and start thinking about, well, you need to orchestrate the work correctly. Once you orchestrate the work correctly, you get that missing visibility. Just do it from the front end. Computers can do orchestration. You don't need people to manage the process that way.
So what is process orchestration then? Is it a new name for case management, for workflow? Is this the latest fad and phase and marketing term that gets you to spend your hundreds of millions of dollars on something or nothing?
Well, good news, I don't think it's that expensive. And I don't actually think it's necessarily something new, but it's people waking up to realize that we talked about process mining in the past, right? Process mining is really an admission that you didn't actually build these processes with the right kind of audit trails and analytical reports. So orchestration says, whatever work gets done in your business, if you put an orchestration layer on the top, no matter, you get visibility to when a process starts and when it ends. You get visibility to when the variations occur, because you may have to hand something off because you don't have the skills or you don't have the work yet. You can hand that off maybe to another queue where it's now being orchestrated differently because it needs different data, or it may go into a wait queue because you've contacted the customer waiting for them to send you some additional information. So orchestration, first and foremost, is visibility to the process. And you should put that in today, I think, because orchestration overall, even all your old stuff and the good, bad, and ugly stuff, gives you visibility, which process mining promises you, but this is for real. And then you start automating those processes. And so when you hand them off, maybe you could now hand them off using AI. You could say, right, we use AI to determine what skills needed to complete the process, and then figure out there's a list of certain people that the queues that needs to go to, so certain people could deal with that. So once you start putting a wrapper around work, magic happens. It always has. And I've learned more about orchestration in the last couple of years. I don't profess to be like, this is something I knew about even 5-10 years ago. I've learned this because, working for an organization as case management orchestration, I realized just what our customers do with this technology. And it's really quite game changing and simple to implement.
So what are they doing with it then, Francis? Because they say knowledge is key if you use the key in the right way.
I mean, I can't describe it any better than you just put it on first, and then you start connecting up your work queues, work baskets. And let's just assume everything's manual. And even with a keyboard and mouse, I can say it's manual. It's a manual process, because you can shout, hey, Jane, can you do this now? Because I don't have this document. Or you email back to the customer and say, we need this information and complete that work. And then you write it down to say, I better contact the customer in a week to see if they've done that. Or I put it in my spreadsheet for someone else to actually pick up that spreadsheet a week from now to follow up with all the you think of all that manual work that goes on, that RPAs come along to try to automate all this unstructured work that you don't have visibility to, because you think that's going to make you more efficient. But all it's done is it's put a wrapper around your inefficiency. But orchestration just simply says, we know where every piece of work is. We know what time it starts. We know what queues it's in. We know what people work in what queues. We can even immediately connect SLAs to legacy stuff to say, right, if it takes more than 12 hours for the customer to respond back, we'll automate now the process for sending those emails. So you're now starting to automate, digitize those processes that were manual, simply by putting an orchestration layer from the beginning to the end of the process. And I am primarily talking about, initially, before the digitization aspect to this, the orchestration of and visibility to work that humans do. But as you start to digitize then these processes, you can extend those processes to the system engine, the true digital transformation. So back to that point where I said we need to contact the customer. Well, that digital email process could respond to the customer when they now digitally apply for a loan. Hey, you didn't send us your driving license. We detect that intelligently, and we automatically send them an email that goes into another basket waiting for that email to come in. No human interaction at all. So it puts you onto the path of transformation of these analog processes. Now you can start automating them, what we call, one stage at a time or one journey at a time. You pick the pieces you want to automate first, and you might wake up 3 years from now and everything's automated. So there you go.
Utopia. Hey, you mentioned RPA there, robotic process automation.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, no, don't groan too loudly. One of the great debates is you need a center of expertise. That will make everything work. I'm an awful fan of process orchestration. I have to say I'm a fan of that. What about a center for process excellence, ignoring IT and RPA groups? Just manage the processes and the workflows, and everything else should follow thereafter.
Well, as long as you use, these days you should be using technology to manage those workflows, and that's the orchestration engine, right? And then absolutely you need a center of excellence, or you've got to have a group of people that has visibility to what the board and the executive team are trying to do as a business. And then underneath that, you need to corral everybody else to be striving to the same objectives. There's no point saying, well, we're going to go, one business unit's just on the mission of optimization, and there's another unit is digitizing the process. So a year later, they've all happy because they've optimized some of these processes, and then they wake up and all those processes have changed. So all that work was wasted. So there needs to be a lot of collaboration from the bottom up of the demands of business today, and from the top down from the demands of the shareholders, the board, and the executives. That center of excellence should be that middle ground for that. That's what I think. What do you think, Kieran?
Yeah, no, look, I am a fan of process excellence, on the basis that if you understand what you're doing and how you're doing it, you put the right KPIs in, then you can see everything that's happening. You don't need many KPIs. I think firms over-orchestrate what they're actually doing, hence why they end up in the muddle and the mess that they're in. So the real expense for organizations is change management. Why do you need more people? Because you've made a mess of it, If you suddenly understand what it is you're doing and why you're doing it, and you have the KPIs to hold people accountable, responsible, and the KPIs get you the results that you want, life becomes easy. But as humans, we're a complicated species who complicate things as well. So absolutely.
If it's all done in silos, do you get what you pay for, right? I mean, you just can't run the business in a silo. That's just crazy. Although we do see that. We see businesses, they've been told to optimize their group of 30, 50 people, and off they go, and they build these robots. In this isolation, as I said, I quite often see the robots break because somebody upstream didn't know they built the robots, or maybe didn't even give them permission to do it, and the applications change, and then they come along, and even the whole process change, or even the application's been replaced out. I've actually seen a bank replace an application completely from the IT side that the business had been building that built robots on that weren't even aware of each other. It's like, well, okay.
But I wonder if that is, is that the wrong KPIs matching it? I think organizations set up functions and departments, and they give them individual KPIs and responsibilities and goals, and there's no incentive to try and get them to actually coordinate and work together.
That's what the center of excellence can do. It can say, no, that's okay to do that. We now know you're doing that, and we'll be aware of that, and we'll give you heads up that when that's arrived, because it's, it might be a year away, and you say, well, okay, I can get value in that year by building these other siloed automations. But this word silo should not exist in an organization. If a business is working in a silo today with all these interconnected processes that they may not be aware of, and applications and systems, then you're going to get what you ask for. I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to get breakage, you're going to get frustration, and you're going to get unnecessary expenditure. And what I like to say, you're going to get a fake ROI, because your ROI might look great for the next 3 years, but after year one, if you have to throw it all away, you actually spent money to do nothing.